especially here in Houston, our clients are from different backgrounds. We have a melting pot here, and I can relate with each individual culture, their stories, their heritage, all of that.
Design choices,
Oh,
probably.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I had somebody tell me something came broken like 3 times.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Oh, that was you. That's
I
right.
think-
I think that was you that told me that. Yeah.
That's really my style and who I am. I actually have learned to appreciate other styles, but I've always been a minimalist by heart, and
Your husband, of course, being in the oil and gas, we know. Those guys move around a lot, and girls.
Oh yeah, and in every home I
Yeah.
try to make it nice and to be like me. But
It's important to have a nice space to feel calm and or do whatever the space needs for you for it to do, right?
correct.
Whether it be
Yeah.
having fun or family time or relaxation or whatever. So outside space is also, very important to a lot of people.
Super important.
Hello everyone, welcome to Design Discussions with Nadine. I'm Nadine, and today's guest is Karen Richani, and she's the owner and founder of Karen Richani Designs. She's a very talented interior designer, so we're going to get to know her and her business and her history a little bit today. So hi Karen.
Hi Nadine, how are you?
I'm so good, thank you. Thank you for coming.
No, thank you for having me here in your studio. I think it's amazing that we're having these conversations about design and all the things that we do and learn about the behind the scenes. And,
Yeah, so I met Karen at the event that I went to at the Antonia Collection. We got to chatting, I saw some of her work, and I thought it was beautiful, and the history of her career was interesting, so I wanted to bring you and show everybody what you can do.
Yeah, well, no. I've had, I graduated many years ago, many years ago.
We won't say how many.
Yeah, that's right. So I am actually an architect by profession. I was born and raised in Venezuela, and since I was a little girl, I was drawn by, becoming a painter, an artist, and also a math teacher. So I had the combination of artistic skills and science
And technical too.
correct
With the math,
and I think that's why architecture was a perfect fit for me. And I graduated in 2002, and I joined a firm of architects that are very creative. They were a very interesting studio. We did really nice projects, and I also became a professor of history of art and architecture at the undergraduate level. A few years of experience, and then I decided to go to Spain, where I obtained my master's degree in high technology buildings. A lot different from what I'm doing right now.
Oh, sure.
But it's all part of the same field of design and construction and architecture.
And you've moved around a lot, right? You've
Oof,
lived in
a
many
lot,
places
a
overseas,
lot.
right?
Yes, that's right. I married, my husband is in the oil and gas sector. That's why we're here in Houston. But we started our, nomadic life all over the world, let's say. So we have lived in Europe and in Spain specifically, in the Middle East, in Kuwait, back to Venezuela, and then in California, and now finally we're here in Houston. And at first, we didn't know if we were going to stay here for how many years. But it's been almost 10 years here in Houston, so I think this is home.
So
finally.
you've settled in and made it your home. And you have a pretty flourishing interior design business here in Houston, right?
Thank you.
And
yes.
all over the country, because you're doing work in New York, Maryland,
Yes.
Florida, South Carolina.
Correct. Yeah, it's, we are a small firm, but we are, I think skillful and talented. And, I have it's a company of 4 people, and we do work on projects locally. but we also take projects in these cities. Clients that come to me for interior decoration and even interior renovations. And what we have to do is, plan what we're doing and see if it's possible to do it remotely or even go to the locations and see how the process is going and how the project is.
Yeah, and that was one of my questions about juggling projects in so many locations.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Imagine nowadays with technology and, I with a floor plan, with a 3D, that we can see and show them the procurement. It's all over the country.
Yeah.
So we partner with some trades, some vendors that are located in these particular areas. And if we can provide, if we see that we can help them executing the projects, we will take those projects. Some of the projects are just decoration, which is, easier to accomplish, but some of them are a renovation, and at some point I've had to go and visit those places.
And how do you get projects from other states? Is it referrals? Is it clients that you had that moved?
Yeah, well, most of them are referrals. I think that's the majority of the clients. Some of them also find me on Instagram, let's say on social media or through a search, and I think that's how they find me, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and I've been doing this remotely for quite a few years. It's not new. Not even with the pandemic, I was like, okay, this is easy for me, you know. I was already trained like to work and to take projects remotely. When I started moving overseas, I did handle some projects, that were undergoing at the moment. So I had to manage those while I was not living in the country, right? So it's challenging, but I feel like confident in taking those projects and partner with my clients to make their homes, improve their homes, or make them look really nice.
That's good. Yeah. So then getting back to your living overseas, how do you feel like, or do you feel like that experience in those different places around the world helped shape your business here as an interior designer?
Oh, definitely. I think that plays an important part of what I am and what I bring to my clients, like what can I give them. I relate to many of their stories, especially here in Houston. Our clients are from different backgrounds. We have a melting pot here, and I can relate with each individual culture, their stories, their heritage, all of that.
Design choices,
Oh,
probably.
absolutely. Most of them, they find, they like my minimalist and, modern style, but I can relate with them, and I can really understand what they're trying to achieve with the project, and I coach them. I even know how to approach them based on their culture. And living overseas, imagine that experience of being exposed to so many different cultures and so many different styles. It was very I was very fortunate to have that experience, for sure.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, your husband, of course, being in that oil and gas, we know those guys move around a lot, and girls.
Oh yeah, and in every home I try to make it nice and to be like me, but
no, that's great. And you mentioned your minimalist modern style is kind of what you love the most.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Has it always been like that, or is it
Always.
something that you kind of just grew into loving?
No, actually, because my background is in architecture, we tend to love, finishes. I think a concrete slab, it's just beautiful. Or steel, or, all of those things to me are beautiful. And I think because of that, that's the style in interior design that best defines me. But also, adding an extra, luxury element there that combines with, just the simplicity of clean lines, let's say. I think that's really my style and who I am. I actually have learned to appreciate other styles, but I've always been a minimalist by heart, and everything that I do and that I think it's with that vision.
And I think it's something that's becoming a little bit more popular in the States and here in Texas and Houston, because I don't think that was a very popular style. No. I don't, it's not up there with popularity quite yet, but I think it's growing on people.
It's growing. I've seen the growth. You see houses that are, like more clean and, in neighborhoods that were more traditional or with different style, more transitional, let's say. But yeah, I think it's something that it's being accepted more and more here in Texas. Maybe in Florida, you were used to see those, that type of style, but here, I feel like it's growing.
European design is growing on people.
Exactly.
As normally it does. Things like that do take some time, but it catches on at some point, right?
But I think, all the styles have their own beauty. I respect, all of the styles. That's my main one, but I do take projects that are, modern farmhouse or transitional or, there's a certain limit of styles that I can take, but usually, that's I appreciate, like all of the other trends.
Now, how do you start your process if somebody wants to work with you? So they contact you, you do, a phone call or something. How do you get to know somebody?
It's usually like that. They typically approach me by phone or by email. And, I'm always happy to talk to them, have a brief conversation and see if we are a good fit. And from there, we start with my design process starts with a style survey with pictures that I can, after we have the initial conversation, and they don't know, but those first initial images that I show them, or if we're choosing, metal finishes or color, it tells me a lot about their personalities. Like even if we're, I have a slide of different art styles. And, whatever they say, like, oh, no, this is not me or this is me, I try to shape and create, okay, this is the client. I think this is where we're heading with their design. This is their style.
So in general, how many projects do you usually work on at a time?
Well, it varies. For example, we can take projects that are a room, or it can be an entire full home renovation, or it can be, a commercial project perhaps. So typically we take many projects a year, maybe by month. It could be 5 new projects, and yearly, it fluctuates, but we're busy.
That's good. That's good. I'm sure there's no complaints about being busy.
No.
And when I talk to a lot of different interior designers, it's funny because I say, a lot of people, there are so many interior designers around town, I'm sure in many cities. So a lot of people would think, how do so many people get so much business in one place when there's so many of you, right? And I think we had this conversation when we had lunch that we said, there is plenty of work for everybody, right?
Plenty. Like there are so many homes that can be improved. I don't want to say there are so many ugly houses out there.
No, you can say it.
We can beautify and we can improve the quality of their life, of the end user. I think what we do is important. We can not only make a space look nicer, it also, the mental health of the people who inhabit those spaces is, the quality of their life improves, their family interactions, all of that has a positive impact on the client.
I always say that's part of the business that I do, doing renovations, that I love, seeing the transformation from a space that somebody really either thought was ugly or, they needed it to be more functional and just make it pretty, and then the amazing transformation that happens and how happy they are.
they are happy and we are so
exactly.
happy. Like I feel like I always keep record of the process, and I try to at the end show them, okay, this is how we started and this is how we are finishing, like with the project, and they see it, because sometimes the process can be long. It could take us 6 months to achieve, the end results. But when we forget where we started, how we started, right? So I love that feeling, and I love walking into a space that I design and feel like, we did it. It's rewarding.
I know. I on that same note, I've had a lot of clients tell me when we look at the before pictures, they look at it and they go, "I didn't know. I didn't know it was going to be such a transformation." And then at the same time, they say, "I didn't realize how ugly my kitchen was."
Correct.
So it's just so funny, but it's very fulfilling to help people to, realize their dream home or kitchen or bathroom, or like you said, make a space flow for their family better, more functional.
Yeah, and I always feel like our work, it's a 3D resume, right? So we have to make sure that what we are showing the world, it's right there in 3D, people can touch it, it really is something, it's a nice result. So with that philosophy in mind, we have to make sure that, what we are creating, we're proud enough to show everyone.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite type of project that you like to work on as opposed to others?
I love challenges and I love new things. So every time I take a project, I feel like, I'm starting from scratch, I'm highly motivated. Like my clients can tell.
Yeah.
Like I really get excited with every project. If it's not that fun, I really tend not to. But to be honest, I haven't turned down any project because it doesn't make me feel like, I have joy in doing what I'm doing, right? So, but I do have I love, designing rooms, living rooms, kitchens. I love to design kitchens and, and the functionality of everything. I've done landscaping projects too.
Really?
And I think that those are happy. Yeah, those are happy projects. Of course, I partner with specialists to, that they're expert on that particular field, but those are also happy projects for me.
I'm sure, because I can imagine that, because for me, being somebody that likes to spend a lot of time outside,
yes,
it's important to have a nice space to feel calm and or do whatever the space needs for you for it to do, right?
Correct.
Whether it be having fun or family time or relaxation or whatever. So outside space is also, very important to a lot of people.
Super important. Oh yeah, definitely. And it's an outlet, you're at home, but also, the outside can be designed just as the interior.
Yeah. So my final closing question I always ask people is, do you have a funny story or a horror story over the years, whether it's been somewhere where you were overseas or here, or you have something funny that you can share with people?
I have some horror.
Those are fun too. I like horror stories.
Maybe they're fun within the next 5 years. But I do, let me think. Maybe I don't know, Nadine. Funny. I have horror.
Okay.
Horror stories that they have to do with deliveries.
Yeah, I think that's a hot topic for horror stories.
Oh
that,
my goodness,
deliveries become a nightmare, or something came broken. I had somebody tell me something came broken like 3 times.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Oh, that was you. That's right. I think that was you that told me that.
But I have another horror story that happened recently on a project that, was a really streamlined process. The design process was perfect. The clients are so lovely. And then, all of a sudden, the delivery they were delivering a very heavy dining table, and the delivery crew dragged the table all across the hallway and scratched all of the hardwood floor, like on a brand new home.
Oh no.
So, even though with every project, I feel like it's my home,
Yeah.
I put a lot of heart and effort to make those, those projects become a reality exactly as planned. And, but things that happen and,
And especially, when you're dealing with outside people, that's something that's out of your control.
Correct.
So unfortunately, we know in these situations it happens.
It happens, unfortunately, but it's part of, the business, and it could be worse.
Yeah, it always could be worse,
Correct.
but
Yeah.
Well, on that note, that's the end of this episode. Thank you, Karen, for joining me. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Until
I really
then, see you in the
appreciate it.
next one.
Bye.
Bye.